Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Fit for Function podcast. Really interesting and I think exciting conversation that we're about to have today. It's a slight deviation away from what we've been doing recently. And this is, we're about to bring on our first guest since changing the format of the podcast. I'll keep the intro to a minimum. I think this guy's fantastic. I found him on social media. And it turns out he's 20 minutes up the road from us. So we could have done this in person. We didn't know that at the time. It's a pleasure and a privilege to introduce Jake O'Connor.
Thanks for having me on, mate.
Jake, we've been trying to make this happen for a while. And it's been entirely my fault. And I really am grateful for your patience, because when I reached out initially, I was doing the pod as like a solo venture, and then felt it would be really beneficial and valuable to bring Bex on with her expertise and her knowledge to kind of just broaden things a little bit. But for us, that's been a bit of a schedule nightmare. So I'm glad that you hung in there, and I'm pumped that we get to do this today.
Yeah, I remember we had our first conversation when I was in Bali, I think. And I remember having a little conversation with you. I was sat by the pool. Unfortunately, I'm not sat by the pool today. But all is good.
I remember Rob telling me about your initial conversation.
Yeah,
I found this really good guest, and it's just been like you guys never just managed to hook up.
I know. I suppose that's the joys of running a business with a busy schedule, right? And I think both of you have a kid as well. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Just throw one of those in the mix.
I know.
Jake, your background, your story is really interesting. That's kind of the thing that first gripped me when I saw your social media content. I think the best place to start is probably there, because what I think that does, without kind of treading all over your intro, is it will, I think, immediately resonate with people who have perhaps suffered with addiction or are going through it. So you can be as open or as private as you'd like to be, but could you give us a bit of a flavour as to who you are and your background and what got you to here?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't hold anything back. You've seen my social media, right? So there's nothing held back here. So if I was to work on a timeline from where it all began, the usual kind of growing up in school, right? Like smoking weed and like going out partying and doing this and doing that. And I hear it with clients a lot. And that's a bit of fun during school and the house party era and being a teenager as part of growing up, right? But then you end up having a bad day at work and you turn to that thing. You end up having a good day at work. You turn to that thing that was once fun. You end up breaking up with your partner. You turn to that thing, and it just slowly starts to just snowball and spiral. So it all started during school, like I said, going out, partying and stuff. But then it got to about maybe 18-ish. I was going to watch Portsmouth. I don't know if you're Southampton fans. Hopefully you're not, but
I'm not. I won't bore you, but I actually ended up playing as part of the youth team at Pompey.
Cool. Yeah.
So they have a soft spot for me.
My dad is hardcore.
What, Pompey?
Saints.
Oh, no.
No.
End the call. No, so yeah, I used to go Pompey home and away, Millwall, Southampton, all of these games, right? And I used to be in the football kind of world where we'd get a 6 a.m. coach, would go up to wherever it was. I've been to like Carlisle before, like 12-hour drive on the coach and home and away. And with that comes lots of Strongbow dark fruits at 6 a.m. and bags of coke, essentially. At 6 a.m., that's when it would all begin, right? So what was...
That is early, isn't it? That is early.
At least you're getting your fruits in there, right?
Well, yeah, I've got
a little bit of fruit on the side.
I've got the blackcurrants from the drink. That's about it.
That's it.
And yeah, it was it was fun at the time. I'm not going to lie. Like I was enjoying myself, right? And hindsight is a wonderful thing. And looking back, you probably think, oh, well, why would you even do something like that? But at the time it was fun. And what then was fun in football would then turn to me and my partner arguing. I would then turn to the coke. I would then turn to the drink. And I was using these weekends as like an escape. I was going to football with my friend, Jack, who's actually passed away now. I'm 26. He would have been 26 as well, but he died like a few years ago. And I think he died when he was 23. And me and him used to go travel home and away to watch Portsmouth. And that was like the first taste of like doing it most weekends. And then when I wouldn't go to the football, I would then still keep that weekend cycle playing up. And it was just this constant repetitive cycle. And I was going to lots of festivals, lots of parties. And I was in a group of friends that were also involved in that lifestyle too. And I look back and I say friends loosely because there are probably more so people that I got on it with, to be honest. And I can imagine a lot of people resonate with that because what we think are friends at the time, when you were in the pits of your addiction and the lows of the lows, like, are they ringing you? No, they're still out of the pub getting on it. So it all becomes a lot, it becomes very transparent at the time, but you're not, again, you can't quite see it all because your mind's clouded, you're inside the bottle, you can't read the label kind of thing. And it's just this constant cycle. And yeah, it was just 5+ years of going out every single weekend, drinking, partying, doing drugs. And I was actually a carpenter at the time, working for a family friend's business. And I woke up one day and I was just like, oh no, I went to a festival in Croatia called Hideout Festival. And basically, again, another week of ecstasy, drinking, drugs, all sorts, day in, day out. And I was on the beach and it might have been like day 4, day 5, something like that. And I just thought to myself, like, there has to be more to life than this, surely. Like, this cannot be life, right? And it was quite like an existential thought, but it was like, this isn't life. Like, I'm going out.
Were you hanging in that moment, or were you high?
I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I can't. I'd say I can remember the exact moment because I can't. But let's be real. I was on a 7-day festival, so I can't imagine I was the greatest.
Yeah, somewhere in there was a come to Jesus moment.
Yeah. And yeah, I got home and I just thought, right, something's got to change. So I ended up handing in my notice or leaving the carpentry role. And booked a one-way flight to Thailand, went to Bali, Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand for about 4 months. Absolutely loved it. And the thing is, the drugs are actually, a lot of people think they'll go there and everything will disappear. But actually, the party scene's more, the drinking's more.
They're wild out there.
Yeah, exactly. And especially in places like Vietnam and stuff, like they love the balloons and the drugs and this and that, and it's just mental, right? But luckily, I actually stayed away from it all. I didn't actually do anything there because I saw this as like a reset, and I went to like Muay Thai camps in Thailand, and just really used it as like a healing process. I ended up coming home December 22nd, 2023, I think it was. And it took me about a week. I think it was like New Year's Eve. I ended up getting on it again. And I just thought, like, I've just spent 4 months without it, out of the place, out of the environment, come home, and I'm still in that cycle. So I was working with a fitness coach at the time. His name's George Fit. I don't know if you know him, but he's from Portsmouth. He's quite big on social media.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think I recognise the
Yeah,
name.
yeah. So he was my fitness coach at the time. And I reached out to him and said, George, like, do you know any mindset coaches? I was listening to lots of like mindset podcasts and stuff at the time. And he said to me, I know this one guy. So he pointed me in their direction. He's from Dubai. And I essentially went through his 4.5-month program and really understood like the inner mechanics of why I was doing it. And it was the first time I'd ever actually invested in myself fully. Obviously, fitness coaching was a couple of hundred a month, but this was a big like £3,500 investment. So it was a big thing to do at 23 years old. And I remember from the second session, like I haven't touched anything since, and that's been coming up to 3 years now. So it's been a long time.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
That's amazing.
And he's a cognitive hypnotherapist. So we were doing a lot of cognitive hypnotherapy, and I said to him, Dan, like, how do I do what you do? So that then led me on to that path today. But I can imagine you probably want to stay in that for now. So I can put a pin in that if you want to ask any questions on the bus.
Yes. Yes. Because what you're describing, what you're talking about when you were telling your story, it resonates with me so much because like I've witnessed that in people. You know, I know I know that era of time that you're talking about when you have the house parties and then you go out partying and it becomes a weekend thing. And also I've witnessed them people from school where, you've gone on, not you personally, but I mean like you in general, like you go on and you get your job and your life starts to change. You might start to settle down with, with someone, not necessarily getting married, having kids, but your priorities change when you start to hit maybe 21, 22, depending on where you've gone in life. But you always have a group or know of a group or people that are still sort of stuck in that rut. And it was really interesting what you said about how you are like trying to relive a moment, because I think we would all love to go back to that time when we were 16, 17, having a house party when life was just fucking great. Like, and you were having like the best nights. And like, if you could just do that for one night and feel that again, I feel like you would. But if I if I threw a house party now, no one would come for a start. Like,
Putting the Hoover around at like 8:30 to tell them to fuck off.
It wouldn't be the same as like what it was. And I think that's a big part. And that's what resonated with me, is it almost like people are chasing that feeling of when they were 16, 17, or like even when you're 18, you go out and you have a really good night at town. And you have 6 months when you turn 18, or maybe a year, and you're being wild. But that starts to differ because, friends go off in different avenues, or they get a job and they don't have commitments. So I wonder if it's a case of like sort of like always chasing that feeling
Forever young.
that forever young feeling. And then when you were talking about the people that were around you, that like then when you were at the lowest, they weren't there. That reminds me also of like, like when you always had that one friend when you would break up with a partner when you were young, and they were always there ready to go out and you could lean on them. But then, it was more of a case that you used them just to go out and have a good time and have someone to go out with. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, they weren't a permanent friend. They weren't someone that you would necessarily trust or confide in. It was really a case they were there. If you needed them to go out, they would be available.
Yeah.
And that sort of was what sort of hit me when you were talking about those people in your life.
Yeah, that's what we call the binge construct here. And the binge construct is essentially like there's a few different components to it, but the number one thing is like trying to relive those moments where, like, those house parties or the good nights that you have. And a lot of people subconsciously are actually trying to recreate those moments, and they're trying to find that happiness it gave them, or the freedom it gave them, or whatever it is. And they're searching for this thing that is out there in the future, but they haven't got it right now. And that's a very, very common theme when a client necessarily hasn't got any emotional content to work with, i.e., I don't know, for example, overthinking or anxiousness or stress. So they turn to the substance. I then go to look at what are they trying to recreate here that they maybe had in the past. And yeah, it's so common. So common.
So, sorry to interrupt. Is it then a case of like using the substance to return to a point in time that felt safe or familiar or happy? Or,
well, it can be anything, right? Every individual's different. So as you and I both know, like, not one person experiences the same thing. So it's hard for me to say like they're searching for happiness, they're searching for this, but they're searching for something that they haven't got within them right now. And whether that is happiness or freedom or fun or love or this or this or this, whatever it is, the person that's listening can fill in the blank. But that is a very, very common thing, because like addiction is simply like you're filling a void, basically. That's what it is, right? And that void is looking to get soothed by these addictive patterns. And if you're empty from within, you're going to be looking for these external things to fill that kind of void that you have within you, right? And that's when those recreations of events tend to happen. And that's why you tend to hear people, I don't know, for example, go on massive benders and get like prostitutes in the hotels, or this or this or this, because they're just looking for that thrill and that excitement that they used to have when it first happened. And you're just constantly chasing. And as people know, like, it's very hard to get back to that point.
Well, it's a time in your life. There is a really nice quote. The one that's like, the one I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah, it's I think it's from The Office. I wish there was a way to know that you were in the good old days.
Like, you don't know when that when that finishes.
And then that can be difficult for some people. On that note then, can I ask you a question about kind of your
Yep,
journey?
of course you can.
When you were going and watching Pompey home and away, and it was, it wasn't, I imagine, right, a 12-hour coach ride to Carlisle. When you look at the whole day, there's 90 minutes of football, 2 hours probably you're in the stadium, right? But then there's 24 hours kind of collectively either side, so 12 hours either side. And then the festivals and the parties. Were you going to watch Pompey because you love Pompey, and were you partying because you love partying, or was it a thing that let you do the other stuff?
Yeah, well, I'm still a massive Pompey fan today, so I would like to say it's not, but at the same time, you do just find any excuse. Like, like I wouldn't go and do that now, but back then I just used that as an excuse to just go and get fucked up, basically, because it's just what everyone did. And so it's kind of like in the middle ground where no, because I still love Pompey and I still watch them all the time and everything like that. But at the same time, yes, because that was my release and that was my thing that I did. And a lot of people probably will have that thing, like they'll maybe finish a busy day at work and they'll sit in their specific sofa in the corner of the house drinking that specific scotch or that specific whiskey, or have that specific cigar or this or this. And it's just constant, it's like a ritual. It's like I hear a lot with like people that smoke cannabis, like the whole ritual of going to the shop and buying the skins or the Rizzlers and then smelling the weed and then buying a nice weed and then smoking it and this and this. It's just this ritual that people are trying to chase. So I suppose that was my ritual, not necessarily sitting, finding a nice fine wine and having a steak, but it was gonna go and have a few tinnies on the coach and get fucked up kind of thing. So yeah.
Well, one of my questions, I think you've answered it really well anyway, because I was going to ask you to like, can you define addiction, like in a real pure sense? And I think you did that, because I think addiction is so. I think it can be used, when you can sense that someone's addicted to something, or maybe you think they're addicted to something, but they don't think they have an addiction to something, so it's very subjective, I find, some of the time, and what you think that looks like an addiction, what isn't. And that's why I was going to ask you to define it. But I think the idea of filling that void is a really, really good way of putting it. But then I was going to team that and ask sort of what you think the biggest misconceptions are for addiction, and maybe people don't think they're addicted, or do you face something as a coach, and like it's I know we're fitness coaches, but we can see it in our line when people are like, well, I just don't really know what the problem is, but I do XYZ. And when you're on a consultation call and you're like, I can already list the 5 things
I
where
was that
that's, I can tell
client.
you where that's coming
I was
from.
that client.
So for you, what is the biggest misconception that maybe when you're speaking to your clients, they might be like, Jake, I don't know what the problem is here. I don't feel like I've got an addiction.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah, I'd like to
right,
know that.
I can stop you there. You're doing X, Y, Z. But yeah, what's the biggest misconception, do you think? Also, really quick, would you agree with that definition of addiction? Like for you, is it, Philip? Would you, if someone asked you what does actually addiction mean, how would you answer
Yeah, well,
that?
I was just about to answer that, and it's simply participating in a behavior despite knowing the negative consequences. That's all it is, right? Because there's nothing wrong with having a glass of wine. There's nothing wrong with having a cigarette if you want to have a cigarette, like whatever. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's how you use it. And it's participating in a behavior despite knowing the negative consequences. So if you know that having 10 bottles of wine a night is messing up your family or this or whatever, like, and you cannot stop, that's the problem. I always go back to asking clients, like, if you can create 30 days space from a behavior that you're doing, whether it's coffee or beer or this, whatever, then cool. Like, you're not addicted, right? And I even like to...
The 30 days is like a key marker for you.
Yeah, 100%. Because if you can create 30 days space from anything and then reintervene it and reintroduce it, then you've got quite a healthy relationship to it, right? It's when you can't have a day without it. It's when you can't get it off your mind. It's when you can't unwind or de-stress. That's one thing I hear a lot of business owners without that thing. And then that's where it's like, well, if you need something externally to give you something internally, isn't there a problem internally that we need to look at? So
Yeah.
that's the first thing. And secondly, like, obviously, a lot of my clients come to me, they're very aware, right? Like, they've signed up to an addiction coach, like, they know they have a problem. So
Right.
I
Right,
think
yeah.
more so for you guys, it's like, again, it's that space and it's these patterns as well. It comes back to, yeah, can you create that distance? If you can, cool. If you can't, then what's going on beneath the surface? Because a lot of people misconceive there's a lot of misconceptions between the definition of an addiction, and a lot of people think that an addiction is simply someone on the streets, homeless, maybe lost their job, or they can't put food on the table, or whatever it is. And that's like the pits, right? That is the bottom of the bottom in regards to an addiction. But there's a lot of silent addictions as well, like the people that will have a good job, that will have a good family, that will have the relationship, but their world is falling apart inside the house. Like, a lot of clients will work 10, 12, 14-hour days, and then they will turn to the thing to unwind or to de-stress, but they don't know the cost that it's having in their relationships, on their work performance, with the relationship with themselves, right? So a lot of people don't think they're addicted because they've got their shit together. But actually, like, that can sometimes be one of the worst addictions because they're not quite aware of how bad it is until it gets bad. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, another question. Sorry, I'm full of
That's good.
them. I'll let you. But because everything that you're sort of describing, I suppose it's all really interlinked anyway, because it's very similar to habit looping. Sort of that it's basically a pattern, isn't it? Of like the addiction of, like you say, when like someone who smokes weed, for example, it is like you say, going to the shop, that process that they're doing is very, very similar with habit looping and forming and breaking bad habits. Like, normally a habit is attached to a behavior, and then we need to identify that behavior and detach the habit, and or vice versa. If you want to create a new habit, you attach it to a behavior. So what would you say the difference is between a bad habit and then an actual dependency or addiction? You know, would you yeah, what do you think? Do you think there is a
Well,
difference?
That's a great
take away
question.
the word, right? Like, if you think about what the thing is doing, whether it's a habit or an addiction, if you just take away that word and just we look at it from a definition standpoint of thought, emotion, response, or kind of like relief, and then there usually is like this guilt, right? Like, someone normally gets an urge, they experience a thought, then they experience an emotion, and then they'll usually get that relief and that release from doing the thing, right? So an addiction isn't just substances, it isn't just alcohol, drugs, whatever. It's mental addictions. Like, you can be addicted to stress, you can be addicted to overthinking, procrastination, self-doubt. There's behavioral addictions, like, for example, porn or gambling, or I don't know, toxic relationships, or whatever it is. Like, there's so many different addictions. So you take away the word and you look at and you compare them both, like, they're kind of the same. Like, you experience this thing, this thought or this emotion, and you look for relief. Whether it's overeating, I can imagine you probably see that a lot in fitness, right? Whether it's binge weekends, whether it's overthinking, whatever it is, like, you are looking externally to soothe something internally. So that's why I don't like using the word addiction, really, because a lot of people can hear addiction and they're like, no, I'm not addicted. I'm not this, I'm not that. But
It has
it
a bit of a
does.
stigma, doesn't it? But not in a bad way. Just like you say, I don't want to be tied to having it, because when you think of addiction, you initially go to the highest form of addiction in terms of like drug or alcohol
Yeah,
substance,
hard drugs.
the hardcore addiction. And then therefore, when you think of it, addicts, if you were to just picture an addict, you do go to the bottom of the pits in terms of, like you say, there's someone on the street. So being even linked into that, can be really difficult for somebody to hit, even though that's not the case. So
Well,
it's
so
sort
it's
of,
the common one that you see all the time, and I've been curious to ask you this and get your take. You hear it a lot with people who drink a lot of alcohol, and they'll say like they can't go a day without a drink, but they're not an alcoholic. And then you get into this blurry space of like functioning alcoholics, and even though it might be detrimental to their health, but their work's intact, their relationships are intact. You know, where do you draw the line? Does it get blurry, or what's your thoughts on that?
Well, it all comes back to the individual, right? Like I could say everything in the world, you could say everything in the world, but really, if the person's not willing to hold their hands up and admit they got a problem, then no one can help them, right? Like,
And okay, so sorry to interrupt on that, because you've made a really great point. Then what defines it as a problem?
person,
Right.
so they have to come to terms with the fact that they've got,
yeah, like it's the same with
they have to get to that stage before you can
yeah,
hit
like
them.
it's the same with fat loss, right? Like if someone doesn't see themselves as overweight, they're not going to want to lose weight.
Good
So
analogy.
it's just the same with this, right? Like if you only know you need to get your hair cut if you think your hair's too long, right? You're not going to go and get
Right.
your hair cut without thinking my hair's long, right? And it's the same with the gym. Like you're not going to think you want to lose weight until someone tells you you're overweight or you think you're overweight or whatever. So it's the same with this. Like I see this so much with people. I get so many partners message me like, help my partner do this, do this, do this. But you can't. Like the person has to be willing to stop. Like you cannot force someone to stop something. Like they have to be so willing to do it themselves. And unfortunately, not everyone is in that position that they want to stop. And it's tough to watch. But at the same time,
Do you?
go on.
No, sorry, mate. Go
No,
on, go
no,
on,
I
go
was
on.
just going to say, like, at the same time, like, everyone can have their opinions, but if that person isn't willing to do the work, willing to actually answer the questions deeper, like, because I ask deep questions, right? But if they're not willing, if they're sat on the other side of the screen because their partner's forced them to be there or their work's told them to be there, like, they're not going to want to do the work. And it's the same in fitness. It's the same in any industry. Like, the person has to be willing to put in the graft. And if they don't want it, then they're not going to want to do it.
Do you find, because this is what prompted my questions, I'm sorry I went a bit early, but basically, in fitness, we have, how exactly the same. People come, they book a consultation call because they need help. They've identified that they want the help, and they know where they want to go, and they know they want your help to get there. But then we're checking in week on week, and they're not doing the work, and they're surprised they're not getting the results. And as truthfully, from coach or from mentor to mentor, like you can see this person, you almost think to yourself like, you may as well not waste your money with me because you're not doing the work.
Mm.
Do you find that with addiction, or with your mentorship? Like, do you have people come on board and they sit on the call and they're so like, yeah, I'm ready to change, I want to do this, and they just don't follow it through? Or is yours, or is yours to the point where, because I suppose a bit like with fitness and stuff, it's a little bit subjective, isn't it? Like subjective, like people know they need to do the work. They sort of, it's not as big as like when someone feels like they've got something that they really, really want to change. Like, do you find that people come to you at the point where they are so in need of help that they do absolutely put in the work? Or do you have people come to you that are like, yeah, I want to do it, sit there on the call, and then actually don't do it?
Yeah. So I don't know how you deliver your work, but obviously mine's 1-to-1. So sitting one
Yeah,
to
ours is 1-to-1.
Oh, it is cool. All right, yeah. Because I didn't know if maybe if it was like a group, then obviously there's not that intimacy, and you can look someone in the eyes and say, "Come on, sort your shit out," kind of thing, right? But yeah,
No, we have those moments
Yeah.
where you can be like,
yeah.
Come
So
on.
in a 1-to-1, I mean, in addiction, it all comes down to the filtering process as well, right? Like, it's understanding, does this person actually want it enough? Like, I will happily turn someone down or point them in the right direction to someone that is better suited elsewhere, because even in the level and the depth of their answers, like if they're not willing to actually sit and reflect and to go deep within themselves to answer the questions, then I don't think we're going to be a good fit, because this is a deep transformational process, and I'm sure yours is as well. And you have to be willing to do everything or most of what we suggest and what we ask to do, right? Because you want to get the results, and we can only do so much as a coach. Like, the other person has to really want it too. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so I think with addiction, it's a lot of people do speak to me and do reach out at the point where they've had enough and they are deep in pain. So I can imagine, if we were to look at my kind of clients and your kind of clients, a lot of mine are probably very pain aware and actually very much aware of the turmoil that's happening outside of them. Whereas I can't imagine fitness is that impactful on everyone around you.
The stakes aren't as high.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
like if you don't do the work with us, you'll just be
Yeah.
fat or still fat, for example, right? If you don't do the work with you,
The damage to you,
you
like
know,
on your personal is. Yeah, and I'm not comparing at all, by the way.
No,
I'm
no,
more sort of comparing the no, I'm just more comparing the like we see it with our clients, where they come and they're all on board, they all want it, and they want to make a massive change because they're really, the confidence has taken a hit, self-esteem's taken a hit, but they don't actually then physically deliver because they've sort of, sometimes I feel like it's, they feel like they're paying for it, and therefore like the work will just happen.
Mm,
They have
yeah,
like
you
a bit,
can't buy the result.
you can't buy the result, and a bit like, what you're delivering is a one-to-one online service, so they still have to put in that work. So I wondered if you ever did come across people that really did then pay you and then just sort of not do it, because it does happen in fitness quite a lot. So I wondered if it happened in your world, or if, like you say, the stakes are so high in comparison. Like, people are at the point where they might lose their job, lose their loved ones, relationships are breaking down, might lose their kids, in terms of that what the long term sort of damage is there. So that, like you say, the stakes are so much higher. But yeah, I wondered if that ever was the case.
yeah, and I even see those moments as a coaching opportunity. Like, if they are not doing the work, like, why? Like, get curious and
Mm.
understand like what's going on beneath the surface, because I feel like every moment, whether good or bad, there's a coaching opportunity to be had in that process. And I will, like, if I don't see someone doing the work, like, I'm quite direct. Like, I will ask them, like, what's going on here? And like, I don't really have it too much with my one-to-one clients, like I said, because they are at that point where either I kind of work with two types of clients. I work with the addiction clients that are more so wanting to stop their addiction, but then I also work with like the business owner that is potentially wanting to get out of their own way, so to scale and grow the business. So either way, they are seeing and feeling the pain, and that pain usually is a motivator to go and kind of break through that. But yeah, I don't really, in a long-winded answer, really, I don't really see that too often in the one-to-one work that I do. But I've seen it in the past, 100%. It hasn't been something that's alien to me. Like, I have seen it, but even in those moments, it's like, cool, let's jump on a call and let's see if we're still the right fit for each other, and let's see where we can take this. We either close the door here and I'll refer you on to somewhere else, or we can continue and we'll continue to grow.
So I'm probably skipping a step, but I want to get into the meat of what you do and how you help people, because I think that's where we're going to add the most value. So um, let's say an individual has come to terms with the fact that what they are doing is detrimental to their health, their relationship, their welfare, whatever it might be. And they've decided that, right, I need to make a change. And they've come to that on their own, or maybe with the guidance of a loved one, but they've come ready to do the work. They hit you up, you sit down with them, and yeah. So what does that look like from there?
From what point?
From let's say, like, you and I have jumped on a call now. I'm struggling and I need some help. Talk us through kind of from jumping on a call with you, those initial steps, some of those deep questions. I'd love to hear some, if you're willing to share some of those deep questions, just so we can maybe just float them out into the kind of the internet space, and maybe it will land with someone and provoke a feeling or a reaction from a positive standpoint. And then once we've established maybe that you and I are a good fit, what does what happens there? What does the routine look like? How do we start to break those habits?
Yeah, so I work through 3 phases of my program. So the first phase is the subconscious reprogramming system. So this is the cognitive hypnotherapy part of it. This is essentially jumping on a call with someone and understanding like what does the addiction do for them? Yeah. That question cuts through all of the noise. Like, what does X do for you? Yeah. Because if they're saying, oh, it makes me happy, there's obviously that feeling of unhappiness or lack of happiness within themselves, right? If it gives them an escape, what are they trying to escape from? If it quiets their mind, what are they overthinking about? Even the thoughts have trails and patterns and loops and stuff. And that,
Yeah, it's a great tell-all question, that, isn't it? Because there's nowhere to hide in that question. Because even if you give a kind of safe answer, like it makes me happy, or it chills me out, then you can kind of Uno reverse that and be like, cool. So what do you need chilling out from?
yeah,
I really like that question.
Mm.
That's a really open
yeah.
question.
Well, I think my job is to essentially ask good questions, right? Um, my mentor Trevor, who founded cognitive hypnotherapy, once said, "The question is the answer. You ask the best questions, you get the best answers." And I think as coaches, you get paid for the level of questions that you can ask. Because I've had mentors that have asked me one question and it's cut through all of the bullshit, and you just have a black and white answer. And they are just the best conversations to have. I had it with a client the other day. We had our first one-to-one on Friday. She just joined the program, and she'd been through BetterHelp and through kind of these therapists in the past, and she'd,
Is BetterHelp
It's an online one, isn't it?
is it an
it's like a
online?
therapy service, yeah.
Just not better help than you. Like
Wow,
it's
yeah,
actual.
there you go.
it's it's an actual.
It's an online provider, yeah, for therapy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
she'd been going through this kind of process of working with these therapists and stuff in the past. And they uh, they were essentially just sitting her down and asking her how she felt every session, and kind of like just talking and talking and talking. And that's why I'm so different to a therapist. Like a therapist is very much past based, very much kind of like, how do you feel about this and stuff like that. But I will cut through the noise. And within 15 minutes, we understood what the root cause of her addiction was, right? That was in the very first one-to-one. And she'd spent hours and hours and hours with other therapists, and they hadn't got to the bottom of it. And they were just talking about certain emotions that weren't relevant to her addiction. And that one question cut through all of the noise. And when they're speaking, I'm then trying to think like, right, what's this pattern? What's this loop? And trying to understand and connect the dots. And once I found a route to go in, kind of like a dentist, right? Like you find the route and then you can
Find the hole.
drill down into that
Yeah.
place. And that's where I'm trying to go. I'm trying to understand like what in the language that they're using, what are they talking about? How do they speak about the behavior? Does it give them happiness? Does their mind wander when they're watching telly at night, and that's when they use it? And just really trying to understand and identify that. Once I've found that access point, it's like, cool, let's go there. And usually once you've got rid of the emotional charge, because that's all it is, right? They're searching externally to feel something internally. And once you're good internally, you don't need to reach for anything externally, right? And it really can just be as simple as that. So the first phase is all about that. It's really understanding like, what is this addiction giving them? How can we rewire the subconscious mind so we remove the hidden urges, we remove the triggers? Because a lot of people think an urge is just, I want to have X, I want to have a beer, I want to have this, but it's not. That's the instruction behind the urge. Yeah. The urge is actually, if you go a layer deeper, the urge is that escape they're wanting, that stress that they're experiencing, and then they want the thing. Yeah. So there's a big misconception with urges. It's like you just want a line, but it's not. It's deeper. So it's understanding like, what
Wow.
is that urge? What does that do for them? And then finding that access point. Before I move on to step 2, do you have any questions on step 1 at all?
No, but it does seem like it's quite interesting that it maybe is the tipping point, the balance point of like Because there'll be times when I drink very rarely. I'm not a big drinker at all. But there'll be times when I'm like, I fancy a beer. And that's maybe the difference between, like, I'm using it for pleasure. It's not an escape thing. It's just a case of fancy a beer tonight or whatever it might be. And making sure that it never gets past that, right? So if you're like every night, like, I want a beer, then actually maybe there's something else. It might be for pleasure. It might still just be for pleasure. But yeah, that's really interesting. And I love that initial question. So no, we're ready for phase 2, I think.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to add one little thing. It's, it's what I find really, really interesting, because I think I've spoken about this so much with women in particular, because women is my biggest clientele. But I see it in women so much that if you aren't happy internally, you're always seeking for somebody else to do that for you. And it's so interesting to hear you say it in an addiction sense, because it's so relatable to so much else. Like you see a lot of it in, I had a close friend that was the same, or never really wanted to be alone. And they were always going out, always partying, always with friends. And it actually turned out because they just weren't really that happy with their own company, or they get bored in their sort of when they're by themselves. But actually, a lot of the time it's because they're just not happy with their own self. And then they're searching for that and I suppose that's the same, right? If you're not happy internally, whether that's mentally or physically, you're going to seek that from somebody else externally or something else.
Yeah, well, that's what I call living from the outside in. So living from the outside in is, it kind of says it in the name, right? Like the outside things fill the internal void. Yeah. We want to live from the inside out. We want to live from, I'm so good within myself, I don't need anything from the outside world because I'm good. Yeah. And that's what I see a lot of people is, yeah, you're totally right. Especially with the way the world's going at the moment with the kind of technology and AI and stuff, like loneliness is increasing, unhappiness is increasing. So the feel and the need for external things to fill that void again is getting higher and higher. And there's a saying in the addiction world, and it's the opposite of addiction is connection. So when you have connection with others and with yourself, you don't need the addictive patterns or the behaviors to do that for you. And maybe that's what was going on with your friend, is that she felt disconnected from herself and from the people around her or the partner or whoever it was. So she was looking for that connection externally through the drink and through the parties and through this and this.
Yeah.
Really interesting, Jake.
No, ready for phase 2.
Ready for phase 2.
Ready for phase 2.
The second phase is the mindful living system. So a lot of the time with business owners and high performers is actually they're so disconnected from themselves and from their family. So it's about understanding like what makes them tick. I always ask the question, what did you like to do when you were a kid, right? Can reconnecting with that inner child. I had a client that was saying that he used to like go and want to climb trees when he was a kid. So I was like, cool. Go and spend a Saturday morning climbing some trees, like go get some cuts, go fall off a tree, go do this, go do that, because we live life so seriously and we live life very uptight and tense and rigid and this and this and this, but actually like just have a bit of fun. Yeah. Like we're here once. So enjoy yourself, fill your body with the endorphins and everything else, and actually go and have some fun. Partly in that phase as well is actually identifying their structure and understanding, like, I'll give you an example. My client, he's got a big business in the UK, and he's got about 20 employees working for him, and he was working 16-hour days, and he was taking coke in the office, and then he would work extra hours in the day because he wasn't getting the work done in that time. We've worked together for about 7 or 8 weeks now. He's 7 or 8 weeks sober, and he's working 4 hours a day. And he's actually now bored with the time that he's got. But that's a good position to be in because the business is operating without him. He's not burnt to a crisp. He's not burnt out. He's not stressed, and he can actually spend time with his family and his loved ones. And that all came through identifying his structure. It's so simple. Like, identify your structure based off of your biology. Like, if you I actually remember, Rob, this morning you messaged me, and I didn't start work till 12 o'clock today because I needed a slow morning. I needed to listen to my body, and that is working to my biology. Like if I had the 9 to 5 mentality of I've got to work 9 to 5, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, like says who? So it's actually understanding like how do you operate best and what are your peak performance hours and how do you get the most productivity in the least amount of time. So that's also part of it. And it's just reconnecting with themselves and reconnecting with loved ones and really identifying like what are the things that make them tick and how can we get more done in less time. And that's essentially the second phase.
How do you find those peak hours? How, because it's so hard. I worked in corporate for 10 years and then I become fully self-employed in 23. Rob left his job in 24. So I had a period of time where I still, from like the February when I left all the way through to 24, and even, about a year after that, really, I used to still work like I was in corporate, even though I worked for myself. So I'd make sure I was at my desk at 8:30. I'd have my lunch at 12:30, and I would finish at 4. And I'd almost be a bit like, you know,
Sometimes you were at your desk, not really doing any work, but you were like so conditioned to be at your desk
yeah,
during those core traditional hours.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, what we do, you'd be like, I don't really know.
And it's taken me so long I still try and work to a sort of a core hour structure, but my pockets of time and how I work are so different. But how do you get down to that with people? How do you really find out where their peak performance
Yeah,
is?
super simple. Let me ask you this question. If you were to take an exam, what time of the day would you take it?
Great question.
Nice. When would you take it?
No, I'm just
I would
thinking
take it in the morning.
So what time?
I would, but I would want to get something done. Pretty much like my structure on a Monday is. My structure on a Monday is a bit odd though because I have to like work. Then Bex goes. She runs an aero acrobatics studio, so like then she'll disappear and I have to go dad duty for a few hours and I'll work again. But I love my Mondays because I'm in the gym about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then I can start work about 10:30 ish.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would if I could get up, train, and then I would probably take the exam like mid
Yeah,
morning.
so yours are like 10:30 till when?
Tonight I'll run through till 9 o'clock.
But
But there'll be some
There's
like,
big, but your peak would be that like half.
oh
be
yeah,
like a
probably
2,
like
3,
10
4 hour
till
window.
lunchtime.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
10 till
Yeah.
12, something like that. Yeah, so that's your deep work block. You do all of your deep work in that time.
Mm.
Go on.
No, that's exactly how we've structured our diary. Like
Yeah.
if you like my days have like deep work periods and they last no more than 2 hours.
But identifying those deep work pockets, I think, are super important
Yeah.
because something just the way I'm wired is that I will outwork anybody within an hour and a half block. Once we start getting into 2 hours, they're going to start catching up and going past me. I know I'm really strong in 90-minute blocks. So that's generally how I play. So yeah,
Yeah.
But good question. I like that.
great question. Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to take any exams. I hate exams.
yeah. Fuck your exam.
I know. But no,
And then what's the last phase?
the
Go
future
on,
vision
sorry, what were you gonna
blueprint.
say?
So the future vision blueprint is now we've got rid of the addictive patterns. Like, how do you want to live your life? I want you to map out like the perfect day in your life, the perfect week, month, quarter, and year, and get super, super clear on this is how I want to wake up. This is how I spend my morning. This is how I spend my lunch. This is how I spend my evening. Because a lot of people build a business around their life. But I need to note, sorry, a lot of people build their life around their business, but it needs to be the other way around. You need to build your business around your life, because
I would agree
a
with
lot
that.
of people end up building this big empire and they're like, fucking hell, what have I built here? Like, this is a prison. I can't get out of it.
Yeah.
And it's super, super important to actually reverse engineer that and get clear on how do you want to live your life? What do you want to be doing? And just break it down into steps. Like, it's super, super simple. And I always say vague goals lead to vague results. Like, if no one knows where they're going, they're kind of just living and just not really sure on where they're heading, right? So it's about getting clear on their 3-year vision. What do they want to do? And what do they want to achieve professionally, personally, and financially? That's what Brené Brown says the three key areas in life are: professional, personal, and financial. Then you do break that 3-year vision into 12-month vision. So if you were to achieve your 3-year goal in 12 months, what would that look like? And then break it down into 90-day sprints and just create a 90-day quarterly container. So if you wanted to I don't know, save 10K in 3 years, I don't know the maths, but it'd be like 2K a quarter or whatever it is, right? But
Sure.
you get the
Yeah.
point. So it's just about understanding your North Star and just reverse engineering that into 90-day sprints. And yeah, it really is as simple as that. Obviously, there's a lot of other, being a mindset coach is not just step 1, step 2, step 3. Like there's a lot of other areas. Someone could come to me and say, I always lead with this question: what's the biggest handbrake that you're currently experiencing today that if we released, you could get the best ROI from today's session? They may say, I want to get clear on my goals. They may say, I've broken up with my partner, my addictions come back, this. Like you can have all the frameworks in the world, but you can, a lot of people can be very strict and firm with these structures, and they actually lose sight of what's important to the client. So it's so important to just ask the client that question, because again, the question is the answer. So when they can answer the right question, we then target that specific area. So that's how it's
Yeah, I do
done.
too.
No, I think that's so important. That was a really big game changer for me when with getting the lifestyle balance right. Like there was a point where I had X amount of clients, which was fantastic and was great financially, but my lifestyle took a hit, especially with this really small period I have of being like a mum at home to a little one, like before he goes to school and stuff like that. You know, I am so lucky that I get that balance. But in order to get that balance, some things had to go. And it was prioritizing, like my business wasn't the most important thing. Like, what does my life look like? Where are we comfortable in terms of like, what do we want our life to look like? And then working from there. And that meant letting a few clients go and not working to once what was a target of where I wanted to be pre-baby. I wanted X amount of clients, but actually now I've got Roman. I'm fine with like actually half the amount of where my initial
Mhm.
goal was, because I
Yeah,
don't.
the mindset shifted from how many clients do we want to how many clients do we need to like to keep the lights on.
Or instead of
You know, all of a
that,
sudden
get
the vision
yeah,
changed.
instead of that, get clear on what is the amount that you need to earn per month. And then whenever you're above, and then say, for example, you want to earn 1K a month with 10 clients. If you've got 20 clients there, you just raise your price until you reach that kind of like, until that point, and you're
Front
just
up.
constantly
Yeah.
going up and up and up. Same amount of clients, same amount of energy, but your price is increasing along with the demand. And that's just how businesses roll, right? And yeah, there's always like buckets in life. There's like business, health, relationships, like yourself. And say you've got a liter of water to fill up all of those buckets, like one bucket has to give at some point, and we all work in seasons in life, right? So it sounds like you're in the season of family and connection and whatever, and maybe when the kid goes to school, I don't know the name, by the way, but
That's all right.
maybe when he or she goes to school, then the business will then take priority or whatever, but you're constantly operating in seasons, right? So
Yeah.
And you have to look at we're going off way off topic, so I'm not going to sound this very long, but that's how I look at my quarters too, and my year. Like I'll have big events where I'm like, well, that's that quarter ticked off. Like I'm good here. I'm and working in those sort of time blocks really is really really
it is.
beneficial.
What do you think what impact or what value do you think exercise has on people that are suffering with addiction?
Yeah, I think it's
Or maybe not necessarily suffering with addiction, but are maybe in, I don't know if in recovery is the right term, or people that are working through it.
yeah.
How valuable do you reckon
I
exercise is?
disagree, and I disagree with the terminology recovery. Purely, I won't go off onto a side tangent, but the 12 steps and everything, the kind of AA, NA, CA kind of world, they indoctrinate people to think that they are in lifelong recovery, that they are powerless, that they are broken, they're this, they're that. I probably should have actually talked about this earlier, but I disagree with that nonsense, right? Because your beliefs, as you and I and everyone knows, your beliefs shape your reality. So if you believe you're powerless, if you believe you've got no control, if you believe you're broken or clean or dirty or whatever those words are in recovery, like you're shaping your reality. So I speak to some people and they're like, yeah, I'm in recovery for like 10 years. It's like, well, you're not. Like, you had a little blip, you got out of that and you're good. Right.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I've
Right.
been sober for 3 years. I never label myself as in recovery. Like, that's just not me. Like, you look at the label recovery, it's like, I don't know, you think about a broken leg, for example, like you're in rehab, you're like recovering from that
Yeah.
injury.
Yeah.
And when your leg's back to full strength, are you still in recovery? Not really, right?
That's a great
Yeah.
point.
But anyway,
Yeah. I really like
that's
that,
a
Jay.
side tangent, but
Well, you have herd mentality, right?
what's that?
Like you see
Herd
it
mentality.
with you have herd
Yeah, yeah,
mentality. Like you see it with like young kids and their behavior. And I'm using it because I see it with young kids and their behaviors that one does one and then they all do it because they've done it. So if you imagine those AA groups, you've got a group of people that you are essentially making powerless. And it's always, if you're sat there thinking, well, I haven't got this, I haven't got the strength to be able to do this, or, you know, the person next to you is thinking the same, and then collectively you've got 10, 20 people that are all thinking that, you know, it's that herd mentality of like, well, we're all in this together, we must all be in recovery for
yeah.
life.
I call it a cult.
You know,
I call it a cult. Yeah.
cult.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And look, there's no
Yeah.
disrespect to anyone in like the AA and stuff, because it has saved people's lives. But at the same time, how many meetings do you need to go to for the rest of your life to stay off the shit? Like, surely there has to be something that needs to change within you, right? It's not the support or anything that's going to make a difference. It comes from here. But anyway, that's me going off on a side tangent, guys. Massive, absolutely massive. Myself, train every morning. Well, I say every morning. I go to the gym 3 times a week. I go to yoga and I run. So that's my foundational kind of exercise routine, or whatever you want to call it. Because if you do the math, right, like when you exercise, endorphins, all of these positive chemicals that flood through your body, like, it makes you feel good. There's no two ways about it. And if you're feeling shit, you need to try and do something that makes you feel good. Um, everyone varies. And if anyone listening is potentially going through a tough time and they want to read a book on this, it's called Recovery 2.0. And it's basically, what's the word I'm looking for? It's multi kind of a multi, I can't think of the word right now, but it's like a multi-view look on recovery, not just therapy or stopping or whatever. It's like exercise, it's nutrition, it's reading, it's this, and it's a very like holistic approach.
Interesting.
So I don't necessarily find throwing weights around in the gym makes me feel like calm within my mind. I think that's more of an outlet for, like, personally, I feel like that's more of an outlet for some frustration or some anger that's potentially pent up inside, that I want to throw some weights around and kind of release that. I find the mindset that I'm trying to get into is more the kind of yogic approach, the more kind of calm, like kind of gentle, yeah,
Breathing.
breathing. Yeah. And yoga's been a massive, massive part of my life. And I'll continue to do it along with the gym and everything else. But I find a lot of people spend a lot of time up here and they need to get out of here and into their body. And how they do that is up to them, whether it's punching a bag, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's yoga, running, whatever. But I think it's really, really important to exercise and get out of here. Like, this is just a thought machine. And yeah, it makes sense to get out of it. So
Do you go to, this is going off again, so sorry. Do you go to yoga like do you join a yoga class like in person? And did you get into it that way, or did you try it online
I wouldn't do
and
Good
yoga
question.
online, not at all. I've never done
No.
yoga online. The reason being is because I myself obviously work online 5 days a week, right? I live by myself. I work by myself. Like, you can get real lonely real quick if you're not in rooms of people. So I love yoga, just simply feeling people's energy in a room. And I wouldn't want to do it at home, because it's so easy to just be like, I'm going to do a home workout. I'm going to do a home yoga class. I'm going to cook at home. I'm going to work at home. And then you're just like in your box 24/7, right? And I love freedom. So I love to actually be able to go out and connect to people. So, and also I do hot yoga. So,
I've done that
I'd get
before.
a pretty
Yeah.
big, I'd get a pretty big bill if I turned the heating up to 40 degrees. So,
Yeah, right.
so
No, it's really interesting. So I only ask, but it's really, really interesting because I've tried yoga so many times. I would love to do more yoga. but I've tried it. I did hot yoga in person. I did really, really enjoy that. But most of the time I've tried to do it like a 10-minute morning yoga routine or just something for mobility more than anything else. But it's really, really interesting just hearing you say it, because what I struggle with, and maybe I'm a bit better now because I reckon I would be better at it, but I could never connect internally. I could never
At
connect with
home
my breath
or in the gym?
properly at
Okay, yeah, yeah,
home.
yeah,
At
yeah.
home, like I would never. I didn't get the connection. But like now I teach a regular stretch class, and stretch classing, like it was teaching stretch. Sorry, it's so much about your
Yeah.
breath work. You need to connect, but I couldn't connect because there was so much going on up here. That was almost, I didn't find it boring, but I was almost like I can't disconnect from the high pace of what's going on in my mind to then connect in.
Yeah,
Do you know
no,
what
I
I
do.
mean?
And
So
I feel like,
that's why I'm interested if you found it, if you went to it in class person, or if you were
yeah, and I feel like your mind has
online.
associated your home environment to the kid, to work, to this, to this. So I feel like just the old school way of just walking through a threshold and just knowing you're in a yoga studio is just a way to
Yeah.
just switch off.
Yep.
Because at home you've got the phone, you've got the telly, you've got Rob running around. You've
It's
got
your
this,
home comforts,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know that, like, if there's a noise in the kitchen, that might be that the washing machine's
Push
just
laptop at the door
gone
or
off.
whatever.
Does take you
Yeah,
away. Yeah.
it does.
Yeah. So sorry, that's a complete
No,
side note, but it was really interesting because it was that disconnect for me was really evident. It's one reason why I haven't been able to try and connect, but I'd love to reconnect with yoga, and it's interesting that you hear it from. That's one of the reasons why you enjoy it
yeah,
so
and I
much.
feel like people can actually resonate with that with work as well. Like if someone's working at home, like that post-work ritual and routine of, because if you think back to your corporate days, you would drive home, you would leave, shut the laptop down, get in the car, drive home, walk through the door, and then you're in mum mode or whatever, right?
Mm.
Whereas we're working at home, we're living at home, we're doing this, we're doing that. So you need a post-work ritual. You need to be able to shut down the laptop, do whatever to decompress, go for a walk through the threshold, and then you're in mum mode. And it's just creating that separation, and it's really important. Yeah.
It's those spaces, isn't it? I suppose you've got a space for this, and you've got, yeah.
Jake, I'd like to ask you two more questions, mate. I'm just conscious of time. Firstly, like an hour isn't long enough to do this podcast. So already we'd love to have you back on at some point to deep dive further. There's loads of stuff I'd have liked to have asked you that we just haven't got to because the conversation's taken us in different directions today. But on the exercise thing, could you speak to the value of hobbies? So if it's not exercise, but maybe having a hobby / I call it finding your tribe. So finding your people, and being around a community of like-minded people who enjoy the same thing, who you can kind of maybe nerd out on a subject with. You know, for me, it's jujitsu. I've been doing sports since I was 5 years old in different capacities. I've never found a community like jujitsu that suits me and my personality type. So how valuable is it to have hobbies and / find your tribe in the process?
That was one of my questions. How important is community? So
Yeah, well, it comes back to the quote, the opposite of addiction is connection, right? And the way the world's going with AI and digital devices and tellies and this and this and this, like, get offline. Like, the world is trying to go online, do the opposite. Because I myself, like, if I can shake someone's hand and be in a room with someone, that's so much better than doing it online. And I really see the value in that. So whether it's exercise, whether it's going to networking events, whether it's, I don't know, going to a run club or whatever it is, like, just go and shake some people's hands, because there's something very kind of old school with being in a room with someone, feeling someone's energy and just being in that room and kind of having a deep connection. So yeah, I totally hear you. And that kind of comes back to what I said with Becky earlier, is like getting in the yoga studios and being in those studios with people, because yeah, especially when you work online, it can be a lonely world. And
I'm sure.
people are trying to bring you online to go offline. That's what I'd say.
I love that.
I really, really like that. I like that because like Rob said, I have my own aerial acrobatic space. It's exactly what we were trying to do. We create a safe space that people can come and escape, feel strong, feel empowered, feel safe. And And that whole message of get offline is strong.
It is.
Yeah,
It
I love
is.
it. I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit, mate. It might be a difficult question to answer, but I think it's a nice one to kind of finish on. So, for those that have listened and watched and viewed today, if we've struck a chord with somebody and they're like, "Shit, maybe this was the sign for me to go and get some help or start a journey or whatever it might be." What's one piece of advice, or where would you start? You know, if someone's heard this and gone, "Fuck, that's me. I need to make a change." What would your advice be to them as of today?
Just raise your hand. Raise your hand to someone, whether it's me, Rob, Becky, whether it's your mum, your girlfriend, whoever. Like, just speak to someone, because a problem shared is a problem halved. And when someone else can actually share your experience, it kind of takes the load and the weight off a little bit. We all carry these emotional backpacks, right? You're carrying a 500 kg backpack on you. If you take out 250 kg, it's halved, right? So that's a metaphor of like emotional weight. And yeah, it's a very, very big emotional weight to carry. So there's two A's to an addiction. There's awareness and then there's action. So if you've got the awareness and they're listening to this, it's then taking the second A and actually taking some action, whether that is speaking to a therapist or this, whatever it is, but just take action.
And in that regard, does it also kind of, because we say when people are like goal setting, we'll say like, fucking say it out loud. Now, I'm a big fan of like move in silence. If you're working on something, move in silence till it's done, then tell people. But there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to lose 3 stone. And you say it out loud to people, and there's almost an accountability. So if you turn around to your partner and say, you know, this is going on with me, this is my situation, by highlighting it and bringing it to the forefront, you almost can't, or perhaps it makes it deeper to duck away from, because they're going to be like, whoa, hang on a minute, like you can't just go back to your old ways. You've vocalized it now. Is there some truth in that, or am I?
Yeah, there is,
way
but
off?
then the emotional charge is always louder and heavier than the mind, right? So the mind may want one thing, but then the body keeps the score. So logically, you know, the chimp paradox, or maybe you've heard of it or not, but the chimp,
Yeah,
Such a good, like, live
Yeah.
by that book. It's such a
the
good
chimp
book.
always takes over, right? It's 3 times stronger than the human. So the emotional charge will always win, or always try and take over. So yeah, obviously it's going to help if you communicate it with a partner or a loved one or whatever, but it's actually trying to understand like the emotional root cause of this thing, because if you can tackle that, it will all fade away and those conversations will become easier and the weight will get lifted and the kind of addictive loop and pattern will slowly start to lose its power as well. But yeah, there's absolutely no harm in speaking out loud or putting on your wall or whatever, but I think the chimp will try and always take over, and it's understanding like how can you exercise and train that chimp instead of the human side of things, you know?
I'm so glad you brought up that book. Like, that book for me, I literally recommended it to somebody yesterday.
Yeah.
I would probably go every week recommending it to somebody, because
It's great.
I for one read it and I was within 7 pages. I was like, fuck, my chimp is so in control of me. And then you can see it in other people as well. Like, I can definitely, like, we both actively try and work on it. We're very red profiles. We're very alpha people. So I think it's fair. I can see it in you when your chimp is getting a little bit out of control,
Well,
and vice versa,
sometimes
you
we'll
know?
even say to each other like, "Hey, control your chimp." It's which sometimes isn't always the best thing to say, especially like if you're already like redlining and someone says control your chimp, and you're like, "Oh, fuck
Yeah.
it." But
It can tell you so much about yourself.
mm,
And I think like exactly what you said, once you can get that under control, because I know I deal with a lot of clients that have like self-esteem issues and stuff like that. A lot of the time that's coming from your chimp. Get that under control and it will help you understand a lot as well. But it takes a lot. It's a lot of work, isn't it? It's mind management. It's not just a case of reading the book and being like, okay, I know that my chimp has control of me and that's fine. Like, you actively have to work on
Yeah,
that.
it's easier said than done, right?
It's a bloody good book,
Yeah,
though.
yeah. I mean, I've done like probably in regards to therapy and coaching, I've probably had like over 100 hours of therapy and coaching, and like I myself am not perfect. Like, none of us are perfect in this world. So it's so easy to say, like, control your chimp, just do this, but at the same time it does require some work alongside that as well. And but the awareness is like so important, just understanding, my chimp's trying to take over again. That then just starts to break the pattern a little bit too.
Definitely. It's hard though, isn't it? Because you have to be able to recognize that. And that comes with self-reflection. And then I also think having those pockets of time, like when you drive somewhere for your safe space, like that is time for reflection, decompression. And that's, for me, is when I'd be like, yeah, maybe my chimp got a little bit out of control there, or, but anyways, I know we're going off a bit, but that book, I think for anybody listening, regardless of your situation, The Chimp Paradox is one of the number one books that I recommend to everyone.
I
Yeah.
agree.
If we're
It's
if we're gonna go
fantastic.
off book recommendations, I want you to write this one, maybe link it in the description. It's Somebody Should Have Told Us by Jack Pransky. I can imagine you've probably both never heard of it. No one ever has. It's a little
No.
hidden gem, and it's all about how your thoughts shape your reality.
Love
Whether
it.
it's addiction, fitness, whatever, every single person's thoughts shape their reality. And yeah, it's one of those hidden gems in the book space. So
All right.
I was going to ask
I'll
you about
attach
books
that
actually,
today.
because you mentioned The Chimp Paradox, and then there was another one that is it
Recovery
Recovery 2.0?
2.0 by Tommy Rosen. Yeah.
Yeah, that there's a couple of books that you've referenced. So just really quickly as we
Yep.
close, is there any other books that you recommend? So Chimp Paradox out there, Someone Should Have Told Us, Recovery
On
2.0.
what
Is there any
topic?
more on your, just on anything that you like, a staple in your life? Like for me, like you say, The Chimp Paradox is huge. Atomic Habits is huge. So anything that's really had a lasting impact on you, really, in any
I
way.
love Robin Sharma. Don't know if you've heard of Robin Sharma before, but he is an absolute guru. So there's a book called The Wealth Money Can't Buy by Robin Sharma.
I've I think I've
Yeah,
heard of
it's so
this.
good.
Yeah,
So good. I've read 3 of his books now. I've read The Wealth Money Can't Buy. I'm reading The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and I've read The 5 a.m. Club. And yeah, he is a transformational leader, and that's all about the 8 forms of wealth. A lot of business owners and high performers focus on financial, but there's also 7 other components as well. So that's awesome.
I was listening to a very similar podcast on this type of subject, and I recognised 2 of the books that you've that were quoted in
Yeah.
that pod. So yeah, it's and I've definitely heard of him. But thank you so much. This has been fantastic. I hope you've enjoyed
have.
this just as much as we have, because I think I think it'll be really, really beneficial, because it comes in so many different shapes and sizes, right? Like, you're not even just talking about substance abuse. It could be any form of addiction, like you say. Like, that can even be things that are a bit more socially accepted, like social media, caffeine. These things that we are actually all addicted to, that aren't just. But when you think of addiction, and like you say, even down to overthinking. And we have people like that in our lives. You're massively overthinking this whole situation,
You're spiraling, and this isn't that big. Yeah.
and it impacts them so much. So I think for anyone listening, just to close this, like, share your Instagram. We would write it down as well, but share your Instagram handle. How people can get in touch with you, because I think you seem like an absolutely fantastic coach and role model.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Of course.
And yeah, just keep up the good work you're doing as well, right? I feel like
Thank you, mate.
there's lots of people that we can all help out there, and if one life is changed, then I think it'll be a better world. I think Mother Teresa has a saying, and it's like, we're all responsible for cleaning up our side of the street. So if we can clean up our doorstep, then I think the world will be a better place.
I agree. How can people find you, Jake?
Yeah, so I'm on. I normally predominantly use Instagram, so it's at the Jake O'Connor _. Also on LinkedIn as well, Jake O'Connor, and my website, www.thejakeoconnor.com.
Fantastic. Top man.
Cool.
Jake, thanks for joining
Thanks
us.
for having me. Cheers.
Pleasure.